Isang maalab na araw mga mag-aaral, ako muli ang inyong kaibigang guro, free service teacher, Sena Camelio, sa asignaturang General Mathematics. Halina't makinig sa nag-iisang radyo ng pagkatuto, ito ang 103.9 Radyo Tangguyog, your radio for learning.
Relation is a set of ordered pair x, y. Domain, the set of all first entries of the relation. Range, the set of all second entries of the relation.
Now let us talk about a function. So a function is a relation that assigns to each element of the domain exactly one element of the range. So a relation is only a function if it assigns, or the domain is assigned to each element exactly one element of our range. So how do we identify the relation if it is a function or not? So we have here an example. F is equal to the set of 0 and 2, 1 and 3, 2 and 4, 3 and 5. First, we have to identify our domain and range in this relation. We have, for our domain, we have 0, 1, 2, and 3. And for our range, we have 2, 3, 4, and 5. So, is this a function or not? From the meaning of our function, it is a relation that assigns each element of the domain exactly one element to our range. So this one, it shows that each element or each domain is assigned to each of our range. So we call this function as one-to-one function. Let's have another example. R is equal to the element of 0 and 3, 1 and 3, 2 and 3, 3 and 5. Again, we will first identify our domain and range. We have for our domain, it is in the red colored text, and for our range, it is in the green colored text. So the meaning of our function is, it is a relation that assigns to each element of the domain exactly one element of our range. So here in our example, we have 0 is mapped or paired to the number 3, and 1 is also paired to number 3, 2 is also paired to number 3, and 3 is paired to 5. So we can see that our domain is paired to the element in our range. So we call this a function as many-to-one function. The last example, we have Q is equal to the element of 0 and 2, 0 and 3, 2 and 4, and 2 and 5. We identify our domain as 2 and 0, and for our range, that is 2, 3, 4, and 5. As we can see, 0 is mapped twice in our range. Also, number 2 is also mapped twice in our domain, that is 4 and 5. So meaning, this relation is not a function. Now, how about if we are given these graphs? How do we identify if it is a function or not? The vertical line test. A graph is said to be a function if and only if each vertical line intersects the graph at exactly one point. So meaning, in our graph, we simply have to draw a vertical line to determine if it is a function. If our vertical line intersects one point from our graph, that means to say our graph is a function. Let us try this example. when we draw one vertical line and it intersects our graph only once, that means to say this graph is a function. Let us try drawing again a vertical line. If it's still a function, it still intersect at one point. So meaning this graph is a function. How about this example? So let us try to put or to draw a vertical line. So as you can see, there is only one point that intersects our graph and our vertical line. So, is it a function? Let us try to draw another line to see if it is really a function. So as you can see, there were two intersection points in our graph. So that means to say this graph isn't a function. Since you have already know how to identify a function from the relation and also a function in the graph, now let us connect our lesson into a real life situation. So state function P that will describe the total distance of a student when he runs 3 kilometers per day at the end of 5 days. So we have to make a function from our problem. So since each day makes the student run 3 kilometers, then we can have our function as, or distance function as, p of x is equal to 3x, where our x is the number of days. Next, let's proceed to a piecewise function. So, a piecewise function is a function that contains at least two equations or pieces, each of which depends on the value of the independent variable or the domain. So, a function has only one equation, but this piecewise function can give or have two equations or pieces. So let us try this example. Driving lessons require a rental car fee of 500 pesos for the first 8 kilometers, and every kilometers added charges an additional fee of 50 pesos. Express a piecewise function for the problem. So let us try to understand this example. A 500 pesos car fee is given for the first 8 kilometers, and that makes our first equation f of x is equal to 500, where our car traveled from 0 to 8 kilometers only until 8 kilometers. And we have here the condition of 50 pesos additional charges if and only if the car exceeds in 8 kilometers or the car traveled exceeding the 8 kilometers. That makes our second equation f of x is equal to 500 plus 50 from our additional charges times x, where the number or the distance traveled by a car minus 8. We are done with our discussion. Now we will have our short quiz for me to know if you have learned something from our discussion. So on a one whole sheet of paper, answer this following. On your notebook, write a reflection about what you have learned from our topic today. Bago tayo magtapos, nais ko munang magpasalamat sa ating Schools Division Superintendent, Sir Miguel Filianan Jr., sa ating Division ALS Focal Person, Ma'am Agnes Malpo, sa ating mga punong guro, Sir Martin I. Diaz at Ma'am Elsa L. Abid, sa aming Practicum Supervisor, Ma'am Ellen Consumo at Sir Michael Kennedy Camara. Muli, ito ang inyong kaibigang guro na nagsasabing patuloy na mangarap para sa magandang kinabukasan. Paalam!